guys, welcome to a brand new Watchlist stream. I'm Nymfria, and with one game left of the Monster Game Week 26, it's time to look ahead to Blank Game Week 27 with some Watchlist players. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Kylie. How you doing, buddy?
I am good, Nim. Hi, everyone who is watching. Yeah, what a night last night was in terms of football. My goodness,
Yeah.
the throwback to the famous Aguero 5 goals at Newcastle kind of moment.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry in advance if my lighting comes and goes. We are running a little bit late because outside my window, the apocalypse is happening. It just went from like broad daylight to like
Snow.
the middle of a snowstorm, and now it seems to be lightening up again. So it's all happening.
It's all happening. So you may get 50 Shades of Kylie today.
Possibly.
Yeah, well, we had a really big announcement about added games at the end of last week. So that's set about kind of wildcard and free hit madness, loads of people going completely off track to their original plans. With all of this, what will we be attempting to cover today, Kylie?
Right. So as always, we're going to have a look at some of the picks, maybe a little bit outside the box, that you can look at for the immediate game week. Of course, game week 27 does have one double. That's Burnley again. And then it does have a couple of blanks. So Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool don't play. And of course, most of us are quite heavily loaded up on Arsenal and Liverpool players in particular. And then, of course, we have some doubles in 28 and 29, big blank in 30. So we're like right in the thick of the kind of crazy periods. So we want to cover maybe some examples that might be good for those who are free hitting this week. And then a couple of picks that are maybe sort of more for the midterm period to get you through that whole period. And I guess it's worth saying, as always, this is Thursday afternoon. News could drop. So please keep on top of any news that comes out after the stream.
Absolutely. And yes, please do get any comments or questions in the chat as well, because we will try and get around to those for you. But our first pick of this watch list is Weghorst of Burnley. We would have had him in our watch list last game week if it wasn't for that flagged injury, Kylie. But he's made it in this week. He's finally made it after a couple of game weeks he's in. And I'm really looking at getting this guy in ahead of game week 27 because of his double. I went Jimenez last week, because the flag kind of put me off. I'm regretting it a little now, Let's maybe wait and see what Jimenez does tonight before, feeling like I've completely written off that whole situation. But yeah, Weghorst looked very good in that first game. He's not your usual Burnley player, but a spearhead to that Burnley attack absolutely needed. He's 6.5 million, so he's an absolute bargain. And Kylie will fill you in more of the fixtures in just a second, but he's still relatively low owned at 4.7%. Expect that to change with the double ahead and so many people using their free hit. Some wild cards, I'm sure, will be flying about, and he's just going to be quite largely brought in, I think, ahead of the double. Could he even be captaincy material, Kylie, do you think?
He's not a traditional captaincy choice, but I think that we will see a lot of people putting the captaincy on him just simply because of the fact that, he is capable of getting goals. Burnley have been showing some drive finally in the last couple of weeks. Hope.
Yes. Vindication, Kylie.
Vindication. We said it last week when the doubles were announced, but actually he's delivered this time with back-to-back clean sheets. What a legend for those who own him. Not me, by the way.
Yeah,
but
we just give out the watch list picks. We don't follow them.
No, literally not. Maybe we should sometimes.
Although I did with Jimenez last week, so
you did. That's true, and I did with Saka as well. Yes. So there's
Actually, you persuaded me into getting Saka last game week.
Well, you're welcome.
So far, it's worked out okay. Hopefully
that continues. Although granted, one of my picks a few weeks back was Edward. And my God, just while we're talking about 6.5 million forwards, I really have so much buyer's remorse. I mean, imagine playing like 30 seconds in a double game week. What even is that?
I know.
So
that's just blocking those points on the bench, isn't it? That's like, it's like the sole reason he was brought on.
Well, I have 30 points on my bench.
Ooh, ouch. I got Livramento last on my bench.
He's last on mine as well. I have Dawson, Foster, etc. So anyway, less said about benches. Question was, is Weghorst a good choice for captaincy? I think he's not a bad choice. Look, there are some big picks. We've got City, United, Spurs, and I think that captains will likely come from those being the kind of more standard popular picks. But I think that we will see a number of people choosing to captain Weghorst, and I think that we will also see people captaining the likes of Pope, right? Just because it's that double game week fever, and Burnley are on a decent run at the moment. Whether it's the most sensible option, I don't know, but I think that you can make a case for it in this particular week. You know, if they all had doubles, then you obviously wouldn't do it. But so I think there's a case for him. I think that anyone like myself who has Edward may as well go in for Weghorst. There is literally no point in holding on to Edward. He's horrifying. And in terms of fixtures, the fixtures are largely good over the next period. So we've got the double, of course, which is Palace and Leicester, and then they've got Brentford, Southampton, maybe in 30. I think this fixture is the one that people think is maybe a bit more likely to drop into the game week 30, but obviously it relies on FA Cup results, so we don't know that yet. But obviously, if they do play that game week, that makes the transition period a little bit easier. They do have a couple of tricky fixtures. So it's 28 for Chelsea and then in 31, I believe, for City. But then after City, they play Norwich, which is always nice.
Yeah.
So, while you don't necessarily want to, it feels strange to be going in on Burnley attack, this part of the season, and he may not necessarily be like a long-term buy for people, but he doesn't feel like a problematic buy given the fixtures that they do have. So I think you can't go sort of too far wrong with him there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not been doing too badly in terms of minutes as well. So he's played 5 fixtures for Burnley since he's arrived. The first 2 were 90 minutes, but then it got a little less based on this niggling injury that he seems to just be carrying through games. So he's tending to come off a little earlier in games at the moment. However, in his 429 minutes, he has scored 1 goal and got 2 assists. Did you get Weghorst in this wagon that happened last game week, Kylie? Did you have him for that little monster haul?
The whole thing.
Of course you did. Oh man, I mean, I'm waiting to see on Jimenez as to whether I went the right way or not, but I'm pretty sure that Weghorst will be coming in this week for me for Josh King. What are the stats looking like?
Seems a good move. So I think it's a bit tricky with stats for Weghorst. Obviously, if you're looking at them in comparison to other forwards who have been playing for the whole season or much of the season, because he's only just joined Burnley and he's played 5 games with them. So he's got an XG of 0.91 and then XA of 0.09 for those 5 matches. That obviously doesn't sound high, but it's about, sort of certainly the goal XGs kind of about on par with what he's actually delivered, and he seems to be outperforming on the XA side, which is a bit strange. But in all of his games, he's had 10 attempts, 7 in the box, and 3 on target. It's, not huge, but it's not bad. And he's also created 5 chances, one of which was a big chance, and then obviously the 2 assists from that. So, it's not bad. I think the fact that he has a double, we know unless he's injured, he will start. Burnley are looking like they've got some fight in them, and they need it because it's going to be really difficult to save themselves from relegation, just given where they are currently in the table. But there's still time to do that, and there's a few recent results for other teams that kind of maybe give them a little bit of hope. So I think all of that combined makes him, a good buy. And given he's not competing with all-stars in our front lines,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely,
not too difficult to convince yourself.
Yeah, exactly, just to go for it. And I think the one thing Burnley don't really have is much of a backup in that striker role. So, where in some of the other teams with that sort of price point, like you said, with Edouard, teams have a lot more options than what Burnley do. So I feel like, Weghorst should be pretty much kind of, the mainstay at the front of that attack, unless, any injury crops up. So our second pick is Sancho of Man United. Now, we've gone Sancho on recent form with a main eye on Watford rather than long-term fixtures, right, Kylie?
Yeah, definitely. He is much more of, I think, a free hit pick. So there's obviously plenty of people in the community who are playing free hit this week.
Yeah.
Some of which maybe have a second free hit available, and others that just sort of think that this is the optimal week, which is understandable. In that instance, I think Sancho is a great free hit option. Because
it would be nice if he was free.
I mean, that would definitely be helpful, right?
It would be.
So he's obviously playing Watford, and although Watford had been quite resilient under Hodgson for their first few games, they did just concede 4 goals to Palace last night. So seems prime picking time. It is a good fixture. They have some actually pretty horrible fixtures coming after that, so that's why we're sort of saying maybe not long term. So they've got City in 28, and they don't have a double. They've then got Tottenham, Liverpool, which is probably a blank in game week 30. So it's a bit of a sort of tricky run there. I think anyone transferring him in is probably maybe doing the hokey pokey thing and kind of transferring him back out to optimize. But with doubles on the horizon, I think you may want to focus more on those. So it's a little bit hard. So I think for all the reasons we'll outline, great free pick. Oh, I did it again. What is wrong with me? I need more coffee. Sorry, guys. I'm not even making sense. Free pick. What is a free pick? It's in my head.
Well, from now on, people, it's not the free hit. It's a free pick.
I'm obviously trying to say like free hit pick, and I've lost my ability to articulate in general. It's been a long day, guys. Sorry. But I also think what will be interesting is, of course, the last time United played Watford, it was fairly soul destroying for their fans. I know at the time that happened, I was actually wedding dress shopping with one of my bridesmaids who is a hardcore United fan.
Oh, wow.
And we emerged from finding my dress, which was great. But we emerged and she saw the score and was, we had to go and get wine quite quickly because I think she needed that sort of therapy. That's a whole tangent. But the thing is, will we see United very motivated to get revenge there? I don't know, but I think Sancho, he's a big differential, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's just 3% ownership at the moment, so massive differential. I've not really considered him, but if, like you were saying, if I was on a free hit, I definitely would take a punt on him. He's a nice price point at 8.9 million, so he's not going to break the bank. He's not quite premium. I think many haven't really looked at him because of Bruno and Ronaldo recently. I mean, Ronaldo potentially dropped off form a little bit, but because the whole focus has been around whether to go with Bruno or Ronaldo or both, Sancho's just kind of slipped under the radar. I feel he's just kind of, looking a lot more kind of happy in his position and just getting on with things. Man United in general have looked a little more like themselves in the past 2 matches. Well, at least, we'd expect them to do well, you'd think, in the next fixture. What's the data saying?
So there's been a big shift for Sancho, which is really good because obviously it's taken a long time for him to settle in. And this is kind of the first period where we're actually seeing why he was sought after and the potential that he does have.
Yeah.
So his XG for the season is 3.49. His XA is 2.59. So he's slightly underperforming against his XG, but I think we might start to see him be a little bit more prolific. Over the last 4 matches, he's had 9 attempts on goal. 4 of them were on target and 3 of them were big chances. So it's not that he's necessarily shooting, at this astronomical rate, but we can see that the quality of chances are there. So that's something that's really encouraging. And what's actually quite interesting in particular is that if you look at his data for the course of the season, now he's obviously not been playing every match, so it's a bit, in and out. But regardless, he's actually had 17 attempts on goal across the season. 6 of those were on target. So basically, his numbers over the last 4 weeks or 4 games represent half of his, output for the whole season. So that's a pretty significant increase. And that comes with confidence. It comes with the fact that he's been getting the minutes, and everything that's been going on at United obviously is contributing to the fact that he seems to have kind of, I hesitate to say nailed down that spot, but you know what I mean. So I think the timing is good if you're in a position where you can get him, because as you pointed out, Bruno and Ronaldo are far from differential. I think in the free hits this week, it is challenging to find differentials because, a lot of people are going to want those City midfielders. They're going to want Son. They're going to, probably prioritize Bruno. They're looking at Kane. They're looking at Weghorst. They're looking at Pope. A lot of must-have these kind of characters in there. And then maybe some of the differentials are kind of too left of center. And he feels like maybe, a nice pick if you can squeeze him in.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks a lot more like the Sancho we were promised when he first arrived at United, and we haven't seen much of. He's managed 2 goals and 3 assists so far this season. 1 of those goals and 2 of those assists coming in the last 3 game weeks, as you were alluding to there. So you would expect something from him against Watford, I would have thought. Okay, let's move on to our 3rd pick, and it's Raphinha of Leeds. Now, we were a little reluctant to go with Raphinha based on his recent game time. There seems to be some sort of confusion over why his minutes have been a bit limited, but we know it isn't because of injury, right, Kylie?
So part of because he is their best player.
You just dropped out a bit there. I don't know. Yep, you're back. Yeah, I think so.
Again, so apocalypse, I'm just I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you seem to be a bit frozen, but I can still just about hear you. So you're kind of dropping in and out.
Oh, hold on a second.
But
solve this.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, guys. As I was saying, crazy weather, and I don't know if that's having something to do with it because my internet is usually very good. Anyway, so with Raphinha, so in game week 25, I think it was 25, he was taken off at halftime. So that was obviously something that was really unexpected given he is their best player. And then in the first match for this game week, so 26, he was benched. So he did come on in the second half and he did score, which was obviously very helpful for his owners like myself. We don't really know. I think there was some conjecture with the first time this happened when he was taken off that maybe it was injury related. It was since confirmed that it wasn't. So now there's some conjecture that it has to do with the contract negotiations that are going on. There are rumors that Chelsea are interested in him. I mean, what I would say on this, because it is something that I was quite concerned about over the next few weeks, I was listening to Seb on Scoutcast, and he's a Leeds fan, so he was talking about this and Bielsa and his whole approach to issues around maybe players wanting to leave. And he did say that he found it incredibly unlikely, if that was the source of the issues, that Raphinha would even be on the bench. So hopefully whatever that was has been put to bed, and Raphinha will continue to play, because obviously, I think we're going to touch on it, but that this double just gone was not optimal. Liverpool and United, tricky. The next one does look better.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we all know how amazing Raphinha can be. I mean, he leads his top scoring player with 102 points this season. That places him above KDB and Mahrez so far in points. He dropped off form a little around Game Week 23, and we had to kind of, think about whether we wanted him in our teams, and most of us kind of sold him on with other, double Game Week players, and the minutes got a little bit muddled. But you can see then why, his ownership has dropped so much, and he's now around that kind of 14.7% ownership. He is a nice price, though, at 6.5 million. So if you have somebody like Trossard, like myself, just sat there, living rent-free in my team, then he's potentially a great replacement for him. If I went for him, it would be with one eye ahead to that Game Week 28 double, as his fixtures before that are a little sketchy, right, Kylie?
Yeah, it's not too bad. So he's got Spurs now. Spurs just lost to Burnley, and then they were so good against City the one before that. So it's like, which Spurs will show up? I don't know. I own Son, so do you know what? I own Son and Raphinha, so I really hope that's a goal fest between the two of them. But
so you're telling me to take an extra hit for Raphinha?
Yeah, maybe. Since the last one worked out so well.
Yes.
So Spurs is a bit one of those kind of funny matches. It's quite hard to Spurs defense not currently amazing, so it's a little bit difficult to kind of know what to expect there. But then after that, they do have the double. It is Leicester, and let's be honest, right now Leicester are amazing to play against.
People see Leicester and they're like, woohoo, let's go.
This is it.
Prime Norwich time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and it seems a crazy thing to say. I mean, I wouldn't want to have a defender against Leicester, because they have been a great attacking team all season, one of the best performers in that category, but defensively absolutely woeful. So in that respect, it does look promising for Raphinha. They have Villa as well. Now Villa, like, the last couple of games have not looked good, either defensively or attacking wise, but they're definitely conceding goals. So in 28, that looks quite good. And then they've got Norwich, which, is always nice. And then they've got Wolves in 30. And that's key, because we know that fixture is going ahead.
Yeah.
So that's one of those ones that's already locked in, because neither Wolves or Leeds are still in the FA Cup. So I think people who are looking to navigate the next little period, maximize a double in 28 or 29, and then muddle through 30 and not play a free hit, Raphinha is a good buy in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of know what you're getting with Raphinha. Yeah. It can be absolutely pure class, can't he? He's got 9 goals and 2 assists this season, on some of the set pieces too, and looked great when he came on against Man United, where he got his goal. It just looks like he has something to prove at the moment, and that's kind of really great for FPL managers, because that's what you want. You want a player that's, consistently going to try his best to do what he can to, impress, and that's all you can ever ask in an FPL play, because, the likelihood of getting returns is so much higher then. I don't know if I'm being a little bit blind on him, Kylie, because I was an early season Raphinha owner and he did very, very well for me. Does any of the data back up getting him in and considering him for the coming weeks?
So over the course of the season, as we know, he has been excellent. Now, he has, from an XG perspective, outperformed in that metric. So his XG is 6.16 for the season, and he does have the 9 goals, of course, and he's got an XA of 3.87. What is interesting is that over the last 4 matches, his performance level is down. So he has had only 3 attempts. Now, 2 of them were on target, okay? And he's created 4 chances. So his output has been lower, but again, that's been during this kind of funny little period where there's obviously been something going on. So I would sort of be hesitant to sort of dismiss him because of that data when we've had effectively 2 seasons demonstrating how he can pull a goal out of absolutely nowhere on his own. So he has saved leads on many occasions by doing that. So I think
he kind of had a goal ruled offside against Liverpool last night, right? Potentially as well. So
I didn't actually see that. No, I remember when Leeds' goal was ruled out. But I didn't realize that it was actually.
I don't know if he got the last touch on it, but he was definitely zooming into the box at the time. So zooming, he was kind of right in there. He slid in, and I don't know if he just caught the toe. So I think if it had gone in, I think it might have been some question over whether he got it or
But see, I had double Liverpool defense last night, so it's like. Which is more beneficial.
Owner.
Yeah.
You're a lucky person.
happy Robbo owner. I had 4 players missing in the first round of this double game week. So I was like, you need to get me something.
Fair enough.
But yeah, look, with Raphinha, just to sort of close out on him, I think we all know the quality that he has. Leeds do need to get results. He does have a decent sort of immediate run up post Spurs match, and he always feels a very stable option. So
Agreed.
I think it's hard to determine with midfielders who you're going to bring in because there's a lot of really interesting options that you could go for at the moment. And maybe Raphinha is one of them that you're considering or is not. But the good thing is he's someone that you can just kind of have in your team for the long haul, and he will quite consistently get you returns.
Agreed. Well, we have some questions in the chat just before we kind of head on over to the Scout Watchlist picks. So, are you both set on Weghorst captain or a single game week player? Have you kind of settled on your captaincy yet, Kylie?
For my team as it stands, it would be Son. But that's because I don't currently have Weghorst in my team. I could be swayed to Weghorst just for the upside potential and excitement of captaining a doubler. But I'm not entirely sure yet. To be told.
So I'm on Bruno at the moment just because I have neither Son or Weghorst, but I'm pretty sure that Weghorst will be coming in for King. And I'm pretty sure, which I think is a question a little bit further down potentially, the Desire says, I'm thinking of selling Salah for Son, bring back Salah on double game week 29 because Son's game week 28 fixture is more likely favourable than Salah. What's your thoughts on that? So I'm actually considering doing the hop off, hop back on with Salah myself. And because I have Bruno, I would go to Son from Salah. And then after United's lovely Watford fixture, I would then move Bruno back to Salah and get him in that way. So not sure if that's any help to anyone. I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to free hit. I think there's a lot of really great looking free hit teams out there. Neither myself or Kylie are on a free hit at the moment. I don't think either of us, am I right in saying, Kylie, neither of us at the moment are actually swayed enough yet to hit that button.
I definitely won't be free hitting. I like as it stands with a free transfer, I will have a game week 27 full 11. So nothing sort of happened to sway me off my plan. And I think that I will, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I will use my second one in game week 30. I think I'm kind of leaving myself with a door open to other opportunities to maximize it. But I think it's also justifiable for people who do want to play it this week.
I think if you've got 2, it's absolutely
I mean, if you have 2, it's a lot easier. It makes a lot of sense to play it.
But for myself and you, we've only got the 1, so it feels a little more like there might be a potential better opportunity down the way, as you say, to utilize it. For myself, I feel like as long as I can cover one of the main Spurs assets in Kane or Son, I have Bruno. Hopefully I'll be getting Weghorst. So really the main people I'd be missing would be a Burnley defender and maybe a City attacker. And I guess I've just got to hope really that doesn't cost me too many points in one game week, and that I'd be able to hopefully make those points back up in another week. Really.
Well, I think that's the way everyone, just as a general note, has to look at this period, because there are so many different types of game weeks coming up, and we all have a different approach that we can take, which makes it exciting. It's an opportunity to be a bit different, which is not always the case. There's usually quite clearly prescribed sort of go-to strategy for chip play, so that is good. But also you're not going to be able to fully optimize your team for every single week, and you sort of pick and choose the ones that you do want to make the most of, and kind of look at these next 4 weeks really as a whole. How can I make the most gains during that whole period rather than each week in isolation? Because obviously if you're free hitting or you're not free hitting and you're looking at someone who is, they're going to have all the shiny new toys that you don't have.
Exactly that,
and that's the joys of free hitting, but there will be an opportunity for you to do that as well. So
I mean, it's pretty much the whole free hit, wildcard, triple captain debate that's been going on all of this week. I mean, it was extremely hard watching everyone last week just having a brand new wildcard team, and you're sat there thinking, they've got so many extra players than I have for a double game week, and looking incredibly good. But I think it's just, like you said, interesting to know and to bear in mind that you might have a different strategy to others, but where you may lose out now, you could gain later. So, try not to kind of worry a little bit on that one.
Yes. And one last question. Which part of Australia are you from, Kylie? I am from Melbourne, though living in not so sunny Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah, it's not snowing in Melbourne right now.
No.
Well, I don't think so anyway.
Unlikely. Very unlikely.
Okay, it's that time of the episode where we're going to take a look at the Fantasy Football Scout watch list ahead of Game Week 27, which you can find on the first page of the website. Takes into account a player's form, fixtures, player's position. With that in mind, anything that catches your eye on this week's Scout watch list, Kylie?
Well, I do love the fact that a certain Broja has started moving up the rankings.
Yep. Both our picks actually are moving up the rankings there this week.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's quite exciting. We're, obviously the scout powers that be agree with us. And it's actually interesting to see that Zaha is staying steady sort of towards the bottom of the mid-table rankings. And anybody who went for a punt on Zaha, clearly the correct Crystal Palace option for the double game week.
And last week we were like, nah, on Zaha. So I got a bit of sass for that. We weren't feeling it, but hey, who would have seen him doing that? I mean, come on. Fair play to the lad. And fair play to anyone who went with him, which is pretty much what I said on my stream last week. I was like, if you're going to go for him, then you know what, I wish you well down that road. I will wave to you. I will give you all my best wishes. Enjoy picking that Zaha person and whatever he brings you, but I will not be joining you on that road.
This is the thing. It's so hard being a content creator.
It really
sometimes everything comes back to haunt you.
It does.
I on the Amigos pod, the previous week's one, and I was asked would I consider bench boosting in 26? And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, my
Not a
bench,
chance.
they all play, but they're all a bit crap. Like, there's no way I would do it. And now it's like 30 points sitting on my bench. I'm like, oh. So it does have pity on us, because what we say comes back to haunt us.
Always.
Very much so.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that Tarkowski is making some moves there. So if you're looking for an extra Burnley defender, seems to be playing again now, and could be a good shout for that particular period. And welcome Ducky to the chat. He says, don't free hit in 27, it's not worth it.
We're not, so
yeah, we may be regretting that.
Yes,
at the moment we're not. So yeah, don't follow us, don't do as we do.
Clearly don't.
And clearly don't. Okay, then let's move on to our watch list picks for game week 27, and my pick this week is Raheem Sterling. I think I like to plump for the headaches and go with Pep Roulette players, as I went for Mahrez a couple of game weeks ago in my watch list pick. And so far, he's done me pretty proud. So why not go for another? Why not plump for another? I'd like to get Sterling myself this week. And if I did end up free hitting against Rubber Ducky's wishes there, then, Sterling would definitely be a consideration for me in that team. He's just in unbelievable form. He's worked his way up to the 7th best midfielder, 4 points with 110. He faces an Everton side who have conceded 40 goals this season. I mean, a little bit scared not to own a City attacker now. Sterling doesn't have any double game weeks, but his fixtures until the end of the season do look really good. And with City dropping points against Spurs, Pep will be keen to play his best assets in the next few weeks to make sure, he keeps toe-to-toe with Liverpool there. He has racked up 10 goals and 3 assists for the season, and 3 of those goals and 2 of those assists have come in the last 3 games, so he is in recent form. For our podcast viewers who can't see the screen, he has an XG of 9.43 and an XA of 3.5, so his stats are backing up his form. He's a premium mid, so he's not cheap at 10.7 million, but it's the cheapest he's been since 2017-2018 season. So, in terms of like inflation and bargains and all of that sort of stuff, right now is prime Raheem time. Special offer. Lastly, he's been overlooked greatly because of his price and Pep Roulette, with only 4.1% of FPL managers placing their faith in him. Expect that to be a little bit more, I would have thought, with all the free hitters around this particular game week. I don't think many will be considering him outside of the free hit, but does he have your attention at all, Kylie?
He would 100% be on a free hit if I did play it. I mean, Sterling is, he was kind of out in the wilderness for so long, as sort of happens with Pep, because he does go through these little phases.
Yes.
And he really was on the outs, and it just sort of seemed like everything had derailed for Sterling at City. And then this season, and particularly recently, he has just come back into firing form. So I think if I were to choose a City player, he would be the one that I would be going for. And I completely understand why anyone is looking at him. We haven't had a huge amount of hat tricks this season, and he did get one only recently. So he is a good shout. It's just, I think in the next couple of weeks, difficult to buy him with free transfers, simply because we're so focused on these doubles, and he doesn't have a double. There is always a risk of some degree of rotation. So that would put me off at the moment. But I really do think once we get beyond the next sort of couple of weeks, he is someone, if he's continuing to look the way he's been looking, he's someone that I would want to bring in, because there's just a lot of upside with him, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I was actually going to go for Ward-Prowse as my pick this week, but I actually did mention him a couple of game weeks ago as a watch list pick. So he is definitely one worth some consideration in the future game weeks. But Kylie, you've gone for his teammate in Broja.
That's right. I do have Broja, and he is like the one little shining light of joy among forwards for me this season. He's so cheap. He's 5.4, and I can't remember what I bought him at, but I think it was like 5.1 or 5.2
nice.
or something.
You got a nice little kind of
really
money out of him.
Got in quite early on him when he sort of started playing consistently and performing, and that was great. He's kind of, I'm delighted that he's got a double in 28 now because he's not someone that I wanted to sell anyway. He's 11.9% owned, which is actually like quite a bit higher than I would have expected. But I think it's just because there's a real lack of options in that particular price range. So his consistency kind of makes him stand out there. And I'd say he's probably a favorite option among many. They have ridiculous fixtures. Like, this is part of the appeal. This is why people are excited about Livramento being back, about Ward-Prowse, about Broja. You know, they've got Norwich in 27, which is always lovely. Then they've got a double of Villa and Newcastle, which is a great double. As we said, you know, these are teams that concede goals. Then they've got Watford, Burnley, and Leeds, among many other fixtures. So that is extremely enticing. He's got 6 goals and 2 assists, and he's got an XG of 4.66 and 0.15. So from an assist perspective, he's obviously outperforming there. But, you know, in terms of the stats, last 4, he's had 12 attempts, 10 in the box, which is what we like to see from our forwards, 5 shots on target and 3 big chances. He is second among forwards behind Kane for his attempts. Yeah. So he is shooting. He's shooting pretty accurately. Well, you know, kind of close to 50%. And the fact that he's getting those big chances means that there's quality in terms of his attempts. So that's really encouraging to see as well. He obviously didn't score last game week, but he has been scoring recently. There's a good chance of him playing in game week 30 if that West Ham, if West Ham win. I think it's if West Ham beat them in the FA Cup, then they will play against Burnley in 30. So as I said earlier, from everything I've read, that seems to be people's belief is kind of the best chance additional fixture we would have drop into game week 30 or stay in game week 30, if you will. So as someone who has 2 Southampton players in her team, I am kind of hoping that's the case. But I don't think that people can go too far wrong. Again, there's lots of people who have Edouard and his ilk, Josh King, all of these characters looking to replace him. And I think the biggest challenge that people are going to have is sort of weighing up, do you go for the immediate satisfaction of a double with Weghorst this week?
Exactly my dilemma.
Or do you go Broja? And I mean, the reality is over the next 2 game weeks, they have the same number of fixtures. So it just really depends on what way you want to play that. But he is someone that, you know, hoping that injuries and everything are fine, I would be really happy to keep and continue playing for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I have really been torn this week whether to go Broja or Weghorst, and because I've been wanting to sell on one of my Watford guys, and with King now getting injured, you know, he's felt like the easy let way for that. And the thing is that Broja feels like the better long-term pick for me, whereas, and that Norwich fixture is just great. Whereas for Weghorst at the moment, it feels like, oh, you know, double game week, but then has slightly tougher fixture with Chelsea. And it's a bit like, oh, do I really want to kind of invest in tougher fixtures going ahead? So it's really kind of been one of those ones where I'm really weighing it up, but I'm very aware that I'll be wildcarding soon. or using my free hits soon. So I'm pretty sure he'll feature in one of those things for me either way. But those stats, though, my word, I think I do need to consider getting him into my team pretty sharpish, because
actually it's quite funny. So FPL Rubber Ducky hate a little, not quite hate, but I'm going to judge you anyway. Get a hate on the Broja train here.
Remember what happened with Pope is all we'll say.
Great value, but not as consistent as the hype suggests. Expect a return 1 out of every 3 games. I mean, what is your expectation for 5.4 million a month forwards? Point out a forward who gets you more than 1 goal every 3 games this season. So I still think that's good, like at 5.4. Sorry, I'm just messing, but
yeah,
I'm very protective of Broja. He's the only decent one in my forward line.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if he's done well for you already, then you're certainly not going to say anything.
Although
bad,
I should stop benching him for his goals, maybe.
Yeah, but yes, that would probably help.
It would, yeah.
Mullen says pick one of Ward-Prowse or Broja. You have a preference out of either of those?
I think they're both good. I really do like Ward-Prowse. We know what he's capable of. The only challenge, I guess, is that there are just so many good midfield options in my mind. And so he's competing with one of those places. Whereas I feel like there's not as many good forwards to choose from. Maybe less so this week because Kane is, obviously on form, and Weghorst is really compelling as well. So maybe for that reason, people might go Ward-Prowse, but I'm firmly happy with my midfielders. So it's the thing that would put me off him.
Yep. Rubber Duck says that he's had him longer. So
well, how does he know how long I've had him?
he said he's had him longer than you, and I didn't say he is a bad pick. just that he's wary of him.
He expects
more. Yeah. Well, we all expect more of our FPL players, less than Mo Salah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, well that's it. Best of luck for the up-and-coming game week, guys. I hope you do amazing. Before you go, Kylie will, as always, wrap us up with the admin.
Yes. So, of course, leave us a comment below with any players that you like or would like to see covered. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the show. We'll, of course, be back next time to talk about more. And you can find links to my content and to Nim's below as well. And we wish you the best of luck with this game week.
Yeah. Catch you later, guys.